When is the moment that you can actually call yourself a dancer? When you can say, I'm a dancer. Is it after one class? Is it after 3? Is it after doing it for a year? Or is it when you are completely proficient at it? It is my belief that when you stop worrying about being a better dancer and you fully become the identity of I am a dancer, that you actually believe yourself more and therefore you're a better dancer. Hello, my beautiful, gorgeous dance baby, and welcome to another episode of More Than Dance. Today, we are talking about identity and the way that you show up when you believe all that you are. And the reason why this is coming up for me this week is because Josh and I have been doing these really fun interviews with the students at the studio. And we've been calling them in individually and asking them questions about their experience dancing. I want to talk about 2 things that have come up. One is with one of the questions that we ask, the answer always leads to these phrases. I can't believe I can call myself a dancer. And the other is, I'm so proud of myself. I love that my students can say that they are proud of themselves because I stand in the studio very proud of them. And the meaning behind that is cool. Like, okay, cool, your teacher is proud of you. Nice. When they're proud of themselves and they're saying that to me, that's like next level proud of them. So to hear them say that as a big answer in their interview, it's so cool to hear. And the other one, which is where we're going to primarily talk about, is I can't believe I can call myself a dancer. I'm a dancer. And that made me start to think about identity and how when you come to the studio, when you start a new thing, do you have the ability to call yourself what you are? I have talked about this before in terms of like when you first start, as soon as you take your first class, you're a dancer. I believe that. I know that's not what my students believe. Though after a certain while, and I'm not quite sure when it shifts, they start to say that. And even one of my students said, sometimes I feel like an imposter saying that. And if you haven't listened to this episode yet, the imposter syndrome, the 4 Ps, episode 24, it is such a good episode on understanding imposter syndrome. So one of my students said, I sometimes feel like an imposter when I say that I'm a dancer. She's been coming to the studio for almost 6 years. And I had to think like, okay, well, where is this coming from? And I can think of it in terms of my own story. When I was beginning my DJing journey, I kind of couldn't believe how fast it took off. It was so cool, actually. When I think about how it all happened, the story of my DJ story is wild. I talked about this story in episode 6, but I talked about it again, episode 44. That episode was about perfect timing. Perfect timing is an illusion. How to listen to the universe to ensure your timing is divine. That was just crazy. So basically, I started DJing kind of on accident. And when I announced that I was a DJ online, so many people were like, oh my gosh, finally. They had seen me as a DJ prior to me even becoming one, which was crazy. And it makes sense. I always loved music and I would go the extra effort with like my playlists and stuff for spin class or for dance with me, just finding songs that I knew people wouldn't know, teaching them how to love these songs, giving them the exposure to even know them. And I find myself even doing that now, like picking kind of like obscure things. And then people are like, well, this song's wild. Like, it's kind of like taking a risk on a song. Yeah, I love music and yeah, I love dancing. And being a DJ though, I was like, ooh, I guess I'm a DJ. Like, it wasn't part of my identity yet. And it soon became my identity. As soon as I was just like, yeah, I am. I guess I am. I'm a DJ. After a certain amount of events, I was like, that's what I do. I DJ. So I don't know how many events it actually took to do it, which is a fun little equation for you. Like, how many dance classes does it take for you to become a dancer? How many licks does it take to get to the center of a But like, for real, like, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop? Did we ever figure it out? Just kidding. But I do want to know how many dance classes or any classes, like, what are you doing right now? What are you working on? Like, I'm curious also for Josh, like, when did he start calling himself a videographer? When do we start to call ourselves a dancer? Yeah, it's not when you're perfect at it. It cannot be, because I know that I'm not a perfect DJ. I know that I'm not a perfect dancer. I know that I'm not a perfect human. We know perfect doesn't exist. So when do you get to give yourself the opportunity to live in the moment of the identity? And that's what I'd really like to be in, because this might be the catalyst to you doing it sooner than you are ready to. When you adopt the mindset of owning the identity of the dancer, you become the dancer faster. So again, I reference this episode all the time. If you haven't listened to it, please do. We do have episode 27. It is the episode to listen to and refresh yourself with, because the concept, yes, it makes sense to me. And it's the best concept ever, because it says you do not have to be that thing that you want to be before you're it. You can act in that persona, act in that identity before you actually are it. And then guess what? You become it. How cool is that? So you might be shortchanging yourself if you're not calling yourself a dancer. Like, I know there's that type of person who comes and they're like, I take dance classes. I take dance. No, you're a dancer and you go to dance classes. You're going to your dance class. Again, we always love wording and shifting words. Well, this is a good shift too. This isn't part of the series, but the shift is there. And the shift is knowing that you get to call yourself what you are before you are giving yourself an A on that thing. And now that I think about this is actually kind of funny, because I definitely don't call myself a baker, though I can bake. So I'm checking myself right now as I'm talking to you about this. I've made a lot of batches of cookies and I've made cake and I'm a baker. I think it has something to do with like really wanting to be that thing too. Like, I've never sat and thought, wow, I really want to bake. I more so want to have the dough of the cookie. That's what I look forward to most when I'm personally baking. It's meaningless to me, really, with baking. It mattered to me to be a DJ, obviously, because I love it, and it's how I make a living as well. Same with dance. Dance, I feel like I was always a dancer. I mean, I grew up dancing. I feel like I was dancing when I was at age 2, and I thought about this last week. Like, how cool is that? I probably have never missed a week of dance my entire life after age 2. Well, maybe in the summer, because I don't know if we always dance. I know I did dance camp in the summer, but anyway, that was just like a side thought. So when we think about identity, so I am a dancer, that's the story that you live from. That's the truth that you're telling yourself. In a way, it's like you're normal. Like, I'm this. This is what I do. And when you're bringing something new into your life, it's not you yet, not your normal. So how do you make what is not normal normal? And I don't like that word usually. So how do you make something that is so out of your routine, now in your routine, something that's so out of what you would do, now you're doing it. You're able to see that you're doing it. Once you believe it, your behavior will follow, your body will follow. If you've ever tried to like change a habit or to add something into your schedule that is not currently there, a great strategy is to actually change your identity about it first. So if you're someone who is really working on getting healthy, you're doing all the behaviors of what a healthy person would do. You're going to the gym, you're working on your fitness, and maybe you're doing cardio and maybe you're doing weights. Maybe you're also eating very healthy. Maybe you've decreased the amount of things that you put into your body that are harmful. Maybe you increase your sleep. What's actually easier than thinking about all the lists of things to do is thinking about changing your identity. So you're going from the thought of, I'm not a fit person, I'm not a healthy person, and this is what I do, to I'm a healthy person, I'm a fit person, this is what I do. When you believe that identity shift, your behavior follows. So it very much is be, do, have. When you are doing the things that a dancer does, well, who's to say that you're not a dancer then? What can happen is we do it from the back end. So it's like, I've got to go to class, the burden of it all. Oh, I want to be consistent. Oh, I want to feel motivated to go to class. I want to get there. I got to get there. It's not that it's fake, but it's obligatory. It's like white knuckling confidence. Like, yeah, I got this. I've got it. I'm confident. If you change your identity about it, I'm a dancer. Dancers do this. Dancers show up. Dancers are not waiting for themselves to be motivated to dance. Dancers push through class naturally because they know that it brings a very beautiful outcome. Dancers are showcasing confidence even when they might not feel so good about that move. Dancers know that being uncomfortable is part of it. So we wouldn't quit because something feels misaligned. We wait it out and we understand ourselves. If you constantly find yourself saying like, you have to do this, you have to do this, you got to do this, your behavior is actually outpacing your identity. You're going with the laundry list of things to do versus just being that entity. And you might treat it differently. Because if you've noticed, you can think about your identity being potentially different from when you were a kid to now. Yes, you're the same person, but for the case of this example, let's go with it together. You're the kid who likes to go out at recess, and you're the swing person. You like to go on the swings. You're a monkey bar person. Those are your things. Maybe you like to practice writing different letters. Like, did you ever do that? I did that. Where I would like change the way I would make my E that week for no reason. Or like change the way I made my A. So like whatever we did, right, back then, that was part of us. We did those things without thinking of it. It was easy to us. But if we said like, all right, you got to go on the swings like every day, make sure you get on those swings. It's that obligation. And it's like the behavior that we're chasing versus the free spirit of, I want to go on the swings today, or I'm going to play on the monkey bars today. The reason why I'm bringing this up in this way is because we don't think about our identity changing like so much, though it does as we age naturally. We know more about ourselves. Hopefully you can say that you have a passion in something. I think that's one of the coolest goals to have if you haven't figured out like your biggest passion. I think about that in terms of like how grateful I am to know that like my favorite thing to do in the absolute world is dance. And every day I get to wake up and be like, I can't wait. I get to dance today. Like I'm so excited. So it's really like having something that I'm so excited to do, and it's part of my identity. So it's like a twofer. So how can you get to the point where you're giving yourself the grace to say, I am that. I do those things. Maybe you don't do them to the degree that you think you have to do them. I think that's always like that pressure that will unfold that I'll get to also see from my students. They have this deep pressure. Even today, I was talking to someone and they were like, oh my God, you own a dance studio? That's so cool. I could never. And I was like, yeah, but do you want to? And she was like, yeah, like that would be so awesome. I'd love to learn how to dance. And not even for anyone else, like for myself. And I was like, yes, for yourself. Exactly. And I was like, what do you think the hardest thing about that is? She was like, I don't know. I'm not a dancer. So she went right to the identity. I'm not a dancer. And I was like, my response always is, give me 3 months. Give me some time to work with you so that I can show you that you are. Because I always say to my students, as soon as they walk through the door, you're a dancer. As soon as you take your first class, you're a dancer. If you want to be it. So when you do get a chance to change from thinking about your behaviors to thinking about your identity, a lot will shift. In your class, all your mistakes will feel more informative versus a proving analysis of the reasons why you're not a dancer is because you made these many mistakes. No, it's, oh, I made a mistake there. Like, I make mistakes all the time. I forget my own choreography all the time. It's just something that happens. I'm not judging myself about it. I'm like not less of a dancer because I do that. The way that you compare yourself to others or even your former self softens. You'll have an ability to be like, okay, well, this is the day. This is the day I'm this. Every day is different. I thoroughly see that now. As the more years I spend dancing, the more years I understand if longevity is what I want with this beautiful art, then I just get to adapt to the way my body is that day. Every day is different, and that's that. And a dancer handles that like this. That's what I'll do. When you're a dancer and when you're allowing yourself to say that, your presence will increase because there'll be a part of you that's so proud to just stand there and say, I'm a dancer. I'm at dance class. And you're not thinking like, I shouldn't be here, or, oh, this class isn't for me, or you're like settled and relaxed in the fact that it is for you. Within your body, you'll feel more trust. You'll have a quicker recovery because you're not going to be overthinking it. You are. And your consistency shows up because if your identity is, I'm a dancer, well, dancing is a part of your life. So when it comes to your consistency, you won't even have to worry about, oh, I want to be consistent this time. I want to be consistent this week. I want to come this many times. You don't even have to think about it like that. You'll just think like, oh, what does a dancer do? Oh, they go to dance class. The effort will feel so aligned. You'll feel really excited to go. And there'll be naturally less pressure. Identity can feel so scary to claim. And this is why I think my student was like, I feel a little like, kind of like an imposter saying that. It's this big fear of being seen. We have a fear of being seen. We don't want the judgment. We don't want to put ourselves out there because we don't want to get criticized. We don't want to get excited for something and then it becomes harder than it is or harder than we ever thought it could be. We don't want to fail, and we definitely don't want to fail publicly. That's another thing people will say before they come, like, oh my God, like everyone is in there and they're watching me. They're not watching you. They're watching themselves. They don't even know that you're doing that. Even when they are watching you though, because there's moments for everything, they're watching you in awe and like, whoa, like look at that. And I think it's important to see that in other people, like see that people can be nice. I know there's a lot of like nastiness like out there. Like even me, like I'll get like criticized on my YouTube. People are mean. I think they can go in one category. Oftentimes though, people are very kind and excited about what it is you're doing. Obviously, like you don't need people's approval to approve what you're doing, though that validation might feel nice. You can make your own validation. The idea of not being good enough yet comes to mind. I thought about that when I was just learning how to DJ. Like, oh my gosh, here I am, brand new, and I'm DJing these events. I want to make sure that I, kill it. And I don't want to be like not good enough. And the funny thing is, that first year that I DJ'd, so it started June, and then like the end of that year, I had DJ'd 56 gigs. It was so fast, like the way it happened. I got so much practice doing it and so much repetition and so much validation from outside, but also within myself. It was like coming to believe like, oh my God, I am this. And people are so excited. My gosh, like the feedback that I did get was, oh my God, you're awesome. And there would be moments where I did mess up in the beginning. Like I still can make mistakes, and people will be like, wow, that was awesome. That was so good. And we get used to thinking about how it can always be better. And that's what's so cool about being someone who is a creator or someone who is an artist. Like we do always think like, how else can it be better? And my follow-up question to you, if that's you, is let's appreciate what it is right now in this moment. There's always another day to talk about it being better. That's a whole different conversation. Josh and I have actually gotten to the habit of that. Like when we do something that's really cool and we're really proud of ourselves for it and it went over really well, back in the day, back before, we would talk about everything that we loved and we would also go into everything that we could improve on. Now, we don't do that. We talk about everything that was awesome. And then maybe a day later or like 3 days later, we'll talk about like, okay, now let's talk about how we could improve because we got an opportunity to just live in the light of it being so good. And I actually prefer that way better. Even if I am like wanting to say like, oh, we could have done this. Well, we didn't. And that's it. That's what we did. And it was awesome. And people loved it. So that fear of not being good enough yet, you're good enough right now. And you only need to be good enough for right now because right now is right now. Your identity can feel so risky because it's so personal. It could probably feel very easy for you to say to someone else, oh, you've been dancing. You're a dancer. Like, good job. How easy is it? I mean, I can picture so many moments in my life where I can see like groups of friends like at certain events saying like, oh, I see you've been doing that. Like, that's awesome. Like they're happy for you. Even like this, I'm a podcaster now. I guess that's part of my identity. Like, whoa, cool. That's my first time like actually like saying it out loud. In the past, I've said like I have a podcast. But right now, it's like, yeah, I'm someone who podcasts. That's part of what I do. It is funny when you do put yourself out there, but I do notice when you put yourself out there, more comes back to you. So let yourself play around at least with the idea of screaming from the rooftops that you're a dancer. And then you get to watch how your identity does form because as we talked about, it forms from repetition. So that question of like, how many classes do you have to take until you get to call yourself a dancer? I think a lot of people will have different answers for that. I think maybe some of you will want to feel really proficient at something before you call yourself something. That goes back to my like baking thing. I think it has to do with you really wanting it. Call yourself it early and then you'll become it sooner. Those times where you experience playing around with calling yourself it, have some real time to reflect afterwards and see how it feels. It might actually feel weird in the beginning to call yourself what you are. It might not feel right. And you get to practice in environments that feel really safe for you. So try another group of beginner dancers. But to know that identity, it's declared, yes, and more so it's practiced. It's way easier for me to say now I'm a DJ than it was when I first became one. Just like it might be easier for you to say I'm a dancer right now versus when you first started. Or maybe you're starting right now, so it might feel a little, then in a couple months or a year, you might be like, oh, I'm a dancer. So as you're getting used to this idea of this is an option, It's not a mandatory. I'm not saying say this. It's an interesting concept. I really like it. And again, I only started thinking about this when we were doing our interviews this week. I was thinking, that's so cool that more than one person brought up, ooh, I can say that I'm a dancer. Or one of them even said, I feel so proud that I get to say that I'm a dancer. I was like, that is badass. Like, I love that. You also don't need to believe it fully before you start practicing saying it. There is that. So you can practice saying it to certain groups of people and know that the identity will catch up. You're doing all the behaviors of the identity. So when that happens, when it all clicks, like you'll be like, oh, I guess I am. And it might be interesting to think about it in terms of like polar opposites. So if you're a dancer, the opposite of that is you're not a dancer. Well, which one are you closest to? Let's say you come to class once a week. Do you think you're closer to I'm not a dancer, or do you think you're closer to I am a dancer? And then what that would mean is play around. I mean, I think the obvious answer is I hope for you were going to say like, oh, I am a dancer. Okay. Because if you go polar opposite and you say, well, you're not a dancer, that does not feel right. That's not going to feel right because you go to class once a week, or you go to class twice a week or once a month. So then you can really ask yourself, well, what identity am I living from? Am I performing from? And if you're living from the I'm not a dancer, well, then hopefully soon that's going to feel inauthentic. And you're going to have to walk over here on this side and say, well, I am a dancer. Okay. All right. I am one. You might be also resisting identity. So that might be a really great question to ask yourself. What identity are you resisting? And then the next question is, what would you do differently if you claimed it? How would you show up for yourself better? I think is even a secondary question to that. Because I know that when I personally call myself a podcaster, I'm like, okay, like, let me get on that. It makes me want to have more energy towards it. And then this is a great question too. Like, where are you already living that identity? And this is funny. You might go on vacation because no one knows you're on vacation. And you might be able to have way more practice saying those things, trying it out, seeing how it lands. I think that's why people love their freshman year of college, is because like no one knows them and they can like rewrite their identity in a way, like not lie about their identity, because that's not what I'm saying. It's almost like hold themselves accountable. Like, I just told you, I don't even know you, but I just told you that I'm a dancer. I'm being held accountable by that person. They know that I'm a dancer, so now I'm going to live up to it. You can also do that with yourself in your journal. You don't need to tell anyone. The point is, I think you'll know exactly what to do because you're you and you know yourself. I just really like the concept of be, do, have a lot, and it helps me think out of the box for the things that I want to accomplish. So I hope it helps you too. And this last little note that I'll leave you on is when you act in alignment with your identity, you're going to notice that your goals are going to come way faster than you ever thought they could. So I hope that this was helpful for you, and I hope that you're finding yourself in the way that you wish to be. And if it was helpful for you, it would mean the absolute world to me if you shared this on your Instagram or with a friend, because helping a dancer just like you is one of my main goals with this podcast. So I hope that you are able to take something with this and then obviously share it with someone that would love to hear it. Thank you so much, and I'll see you on the dance floor.